heart cracking. A scandal? You mean our child? He turned toward the elevator, his back to her. Evelyn, you knew what this was. I told you I wasn't ready for a family. Her voice shook. You told me you loved me. That was before you complicated everything. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime, and he stepped inside. Evelyn could barely breathe. Adrian, please don't walk away from us. He didn't answer. The doors closed, sealing her out of his world forever. She stood there, numb, as her tears mixed with the rain dripping from her hair. That night, she left the city with nothing but a small suitcase and a growing life inside her. Chapter 2: The Years of Silence. 5 years is long enough to change everything except pain. Evelyn had learned to smile through the ache. She had moved to a small coastal town in Devon, where the sea whispered comfort in her loneliest nights. She worked as a freelance designer from home, balancing sketches and deadlines while raising her twins, Noah and Leela, the two bright stars that gave her strength when the world turned cold. Noah had Adrian's deep hazel eyes, and every time he laughed, she saw the ghost of the man she once loved. Leela, on the other hand, was pure sunshine, curly-haired and full of mischief. Together, they filled the small cottage with warmth and chaos. But even as Evelyn built a new life, her past never truly faded. Adrian's betrayal had cut deeper than she admitted to anyone. He hadn't just abandoned her, he had erased her, pretending she never existed. Until one day, fate sent her a reminder that some debts must be paid. A headline flashed on her phone screen. Harrington Enterprises faces crisis CEO. Adrian Harrington under fire for employee negligence scandal. She stared at the photo of Adrian, older, sharper, but his eyes hollow. For years, she had avoided anything that reminded her of him. But now, seeing him falter stirred something fierce inside her. It wasn't revenge she wanted. It was justice, balance. For every night she cried alone, for every time she had to explain to her children why they didn't have a father, Adrian Harrington owed a reckoning. She opened her laptop and began typing. Chapter 3: The Return. A month later, the lobby of Harrington Enterprises buzzed with tension as a new design consultant entered the building. The receptionist smiled politely, unaware that the elegant woman in the cream blazer and black heels had once stood in that same lobby 5 years ago, heartbroken and drenched in rain. Good morning, the receptionist said. Name? Evelyn Brooks, she replied calmly. The name rolled through the air like a haunting melody. Somewhere above, destiny shivered. Adrian Harrington had changed. Success had hardened him further, but beneath his polished surface was the desperation of a man struggling to keep his empire from crumbling. His company's reputation had been tarnished by a lawsuit involving employee mistreatment, his own careless decisions catching up with him. When his secretary announced that the new consultant had arrived, Adrian barely looked up. Send her in. The door opened, and time stopped. Evelyn stepped inside, poised, graceful, her chin lifted with quiet strength. Adrian froze mid-sentence, his pen slipping from his fingers. Evelyn. His voice was almost a whisper. Mr. Harrington, she said coolly, offering her hand. It's been a while. He hesitated before taking it. You're the consultant? Yes. I've been hired by your board to rebrand your public image. They thought an outsider's perspective might help. Her eyes sparkled faintly. I'm sure we'll work well together professionally. He stared at her, words failing. She looked radiant, self-assured, untouchable. He tried to speak, but she continued, her tone crisp. Let's discuss your company's damaged reputation. Every word was deliberate, a knife wrapped in silk. Chapter 4: The Lessons Begin. Over the next few weeks, Evelyn worked beside Adrian daily. She kept things strictly professional, never mentioning the past. Yet every time their eyes met, he saw the storm he'd caused reflected back at him. She introduced new policies, better treatment for employees, transparent leadership, charitable programs. Slowly, the company began to recover. The board praised her brilliance, but for Adrian, every moment was torture. He couldn't ignore the guilt gnawing at him. The woman he had discarded had returned, not as a victim but as the force saving his company. One afternoon, as they reviewed campaign drafts, he finally spoke. Evelyn, I need to ask, why did you come back? She looked at him evenly. For work, Mr. Harrington, nothing more. He exhaled. I don't believe that. She gave a small smile. Believe what you want. Her phone buzzed, and she excused herself. Adrian's gaze followed her as she walked out, graceful, confident, yet distant. He couldn't stand it. He wanted to apologize, to explain. But how do you undo the kind of pain that rots in silence for 5 years? Later that week, Evelyn attended a charity gala representing the company. Adrian joined her, insisting they go together for publicity. Cameras flashed. As they entered, she in an elegant silver gown, he in a tailored tuxedo. The media buzzed with curiosity. Who is this mysterious woman revitalizing Harrington Enterprises? Halfway through the night, Evelyn's twins appeared, brought by her friend and babysitter. Unaware of the chaos about to unfold, they ran toward her across the ballroom, laughing. Mommy! The room went silent. Evelyn bent to embrace them, smiling softly. Noah, Leela, I told you to stay with Aunt Clara, but we missed you. Noah grinned. Adrian's breath hitched. The twins turned to him with innocent eyes that mirrored his own. Recognition dawned like lightning. He felt the ground shift beneath him. Evelyn, he whispered hoarsely. They're mine. She rose slowly, meeting his gaze. Yes, they're yours. The ballroom murmured, cameras clicking furiously. Adrian's face paled. You never told me. You didn't want to know, she said quietly. You made that clear. Then she turned away, leaving him frozen in the middle of the glittering chaos. Chapter 5: The Reckoning. The next morning, headlines screamed. Harrington CEO exposed secret family revealed at charity gala. Investors panicked. The board demanded explanations. Adrian's empire began to crack again, but this time, Evelyn wasn't there to save it. She had resigned that very morning, leaving a letter on his desk. Adrian, you once told me a family was a complication. Now you understand what life feels like when you lose something real for the sake of appearances. I didn't come back for revenge. I came to show you what responsibility looks like. You had every chance to be a father, to be human, but you chose your reputation instead. The twins don't need your money. They have my love, and that's enough. Goodbye, Evelyn. Adrian sat at his desk, staring at the words until they blurred. His empire, his pride, his cold ambition, none of it mattered anymore. For the first time, the loneliness he had inflicted on someone else came crashing down upon him. He tried to call her, to visit her home, but she refused to see him. She had built her world without him, and he no longer had a place in it. One evening, as the sun dipped into the horizon, Adrian drove to the coastal town where she lived. From afar, he saw her laughing with the twins by the sea, Noah chasing waves, Leela building sandcastles. Evelyn stood behind them, radiant in the sunset glow. He stepped closer, but stopped when Noah ran up to her, shouting, Mommy, look. My castle has a king. Evelyn laughed, brushing sand from his cheeks. Every king needs a good heart, my love. Remember that. Her words struck Adrian harder than any slap could. He realized then that her lesson wasn't about revenge. It was about redemption, the kind he'd never earned. He turned and walked away, the sound of her children's laughter fading into the wind. Chapter 6: The Lesson Complete. Months later, Evelyn's design firm flourished. She had become known for her integrity and compassion, everything Adrian's empire had lacked. Adrian, on the other hand, faced the slow unraveling of his fortune. Investors withdrew, scandals multiplied, and he was eventually forced to step down as CEO. For the first time in his life, he experienced the humility of starting over. Sometimes, he'd see photos of Evelyn's projects in magazines. She was happy, thriving, untouchable. The twins' faces occasionally appeared beside her, Noah holding her hand, Leela smiling shyly. He saved every picture, a quiet punishment for the man who could have been part of that world, but chose ego instead. One rainy night, just like the one years ago, he walked alone through the city streets, umbrella forgotten, drenched and broken. He stopped in front of a billboard featuring her new company. Below her elegant photo was the tagline she had created. Strength isn't what you gain, it's what you rebuild. He smiled bitterly. The lesson was complete. Epilogue: full circle. 5 years later, Adrian lived a modest life, teaching business ethics at a local college, a poetic twist of fate. His students admired his humility, unaware of the mistakes that shaped it. One afternoon, after class, he saw a familiar figure standing by the gate, Evelyn, still graceful, though her eyes had softened. He walked up to her, tentative. "Evelyn." She smiled faintly. "I heard you're teaching about responsibility now." He nodded, trying to make sense of what I once ignored. They stood in silence for a moment. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said finally. "I just wanted to say, thank you, for teaching me what truly matters." She looked at him for a long time before replying softly, "Then I suppose my lesson worked." She turned to leave, and this time, he didn't stop her. He simply watched as she walked away free, strong, and untouchable. The wind carried her laughter faintly, mingling with the echo of the sea. Adrian smiled sadly, whispering to himself, "Goodbye, Evelyn."